I can just see the anger coming out of you. You're gonna go full angry nerd on this, aren't you? Oh, you're probably gonna call it a lot of.
Could you cool it on the swearing? Like, YouTube does not like that anymore, and I really don't feel like putting a censor on every other word you say.
No, I'm gonna swear whatever the I want to, and beg a like you just don't get it.
Dude, I'm about half a step away from tossing out the most aggressive burn knuckle of my life and breaking you in half from the thunderous impact of my fist colliding with your face!
Now that's the stuff I like to hear.
You're an idiot. And I'm not gonna stoop to your edgy level. As low as that is, I bet an ant couldn't even limbo under that bar.
You know, I've been meaning to ask. Why do you hate this game? It doesn't look that bad.
Repeat that?
Well, you do, don't you?
Well... Greetings, my friends. 'Tis I, your host, the Mighty Blue Magus.
And I am Reaper Zero!
Just stand there and try not to annoy me. Anyway, I've been teasing this review for a long time, and given my spotty reviewing schedule, a bit longer than I would have liked to. Last year, after I covered the original Fatal Fury trilogy, I had intended on reviewing the Art of Fighting trilogy immediately following in February. Well, hey, it's February now, isn't it? So I didn't specify a year, and I guess that means I set out what I was gonna do to begin with, right? Good job for me! Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have any excuses for this. It's all my fault. I've got a bad reviewing schedule, and I've always had difficulty at getting out content all the time. And really, I'm the only one to blame. I could sit here and make excuses all day, but at the end of the day, it won't really matter, okay? Like, if I don't have the time, I should just sit down and make the time, alright? Consider this the apology tour, and Art of Fighting bought a ticket a year ago. Art of Fighting is what you'd probably consider the first true Street Fighter clone. And yes, there are a ton of Street Fighter clones out there. I'll have to get to them somewhere down the road too. But if you were to ask me, Art of Fighting is more than your prototypical Street Fighter clone that does everything it can to mimic the Capcom formula. It wanted to stand out on its own, and if you ask me, it did a lot more for the fighting game industry than it's ever been given credit for. Take, for example, the screen size. Ever notice how early Street Fighter just placed you in a huge box, and unless your opponent moved with you, you can't see more of the screen? Well, in Art of Fighting, it doesn't do that. Instead, it has this neat little zoom-in, zoom-out feature during combat. This seems minor, but it actually opens up the field of view and gives the whole game a cool cinematic look. Art of Fighting just looks and feels more alive than many other fighting games of this era. Definitely because of the color palette and this little design choice. You're always moving in Art of Fighting. Jump attacks, jumping away from your opponent, backstepping, blocking, moving in and hitting hard, grappling. It's just so fast-paced and alive. Again, it's just the term to use. Now mind you, this game came out in 1992. Combos in fighting games were still pretty clunky, and I'd even argue that Street Fighter II's combo system was clunky and hard to work with. Well, of course, that's because Street Fighter's combo system was a total accident, but that's a story for another day. So instead of dealing with that, SNK opted to make their fighters have some oomph into their attacks, focusing instead on a combination of powerful strikes and special moves. You know, Fatal Fury 1 got a bad reputation from some reviewers early on. They were saying it was no competition for Street Fighter, and some were even calling the game flat out bad because of it being stiff and not having a combo system. Some reviewers are wrong. Meanwhile, Art of Fighting does essentially the exact same thing with a few minor tweaks, and it's called one of the greatest fighting games ever made. What? Look, Fatal Fury 1 isn't perfect.
Yes!
But you can tell that when they were making it, they were onto something, and Art of Fighting just continued that style.
Boring!
What?
Okay, look, I broke in your ass because I wanted to see you get mad at something you hate. And if you're not gonna do that, at least tell me something.
What do you want, you Skeletor-looking edgelord?
Why, oh why, didn't you want to talk about these games?
Okay, so you want to know? Everyone out there? Everyone watching this, you really want to know why I didn't want to cover these games? You really want to know why I've been so afraid? Okay, I'll tell you. It's because these games are impossible! Oh, you thought Fatal Fury was hard? You thought Fatal Fury 2 and Special were hard? Ha! Don't make me laugh in my crack shoot. That's my butt. Art of Fighting's difficulty is the stuff of legend. Ask any old school fighting game player about Art of Fighting, and if they don't pause and start singing the intro to Apocalypse Now, they've either got a pretty mean mental block on, or they're just straight up fully lobotomized. Art of Fighting defined old school arcade fighter difficulty. I challenge you, find me anything harder than this series and send it to me. I'm morbidly curious and a glutton for punishment. Right in my crack shoot. The games are not bad. Nay, they're great even. They are very well-built fighters. But if you expect to boot this game up and have a fun little good time without even a little bit of salt, you're more optimistic and naive than I am and dumber than he is. You don't want to know what he's saying. I should probably call the cops. But while he's having a mental breakdown, let's set the stage. Let's place ourselves back in 1993. The arcade industry is booming, and man, do you love Street Fighter 2. Heck, you played Fatal Fury, and that game was pretty slick too. Then you see, in your local arcade, a brand spanking new cabinet. Hey, wow, look at that thing. It reads Art of Fighting. You're fresh out of school, it's the weekend, and you know what? That game looks really fun. You've got about $2.50, about 10 quarters to your name right now. So you know what? Let's do it. Let's play this brand new arcade game. And let's have a good time. Well, that's 1 quarter down. This is gonna be fun. So the story of Art of Fighting is this. Ryo Sakazaki, son of karate master Takuma Sakazaki, is on the hunt for his sister who has been kidnapped. His training partner and best friend Robert Garcia tags along in the search because he has a mad crush on Yuri. Oh, and make that first quarter into a full dollar because I had considerable difficulty beating Toto. And he's the first guy. God in heaven, I pray to you, grant me sweet mercy. Well, I actually did manage to beat Toto, so I'm not completely incompetent. And he tells you that he has no idea where Yuri is, but a guy named Jack at Max Bar might. So Ryo rides his motorcycle without shoes or a helmet because martial arts or something like that. He goes to Max Bar. There he encounters Jack, who's this big mofo, and I proceed to get slapped around for the next 20 minutes before wasting all of my quarters. Yep, not joking. Couldn't make it past the second guy on 10 tries. Alright, so maybe I just suck or my controller's broken or something like that, but I have some hang-ups with the special moves. A lot of the times I honestly can't figure out if they work properly or only work when they want to. I mean, maybe I just suck. It's certainly possible I suck. I mean, again, I couldn't make it past the second guy after 10 tries, so that's a very, very high likelihood. Cut me a break, these games are hard anyway. Maybe it's just my arcade stick that just sucks, but I don't know, to me it really feels like the game doesn't work too well with twitch reflexes, and you pretty much have to dedicate slow and controlled movements to every single action. That makes it kind of difficult because the game is so fast-paced. Although in my defense, I never had any problems with the Fatal Fury games, so I don't know, maybe it's just this game. I mean, maybe it was just a design choice to have them be super specific to an input command to make them more skill-based instead of mashing out Hadouken like every noobs in Street Fighter do. Although I don't really see how that would be much of a problem for this game because much like the previous game I reviewed on this show, Eternal Champions, it has a special system that works a lot like it. Although I do think Art of Fighting does it a bit better. You see, unlike in Eternal Champions, which if you don't have enough meter to do a move, it simply won't work, this game will let you do the move, but it varies on strength, power, and range if you do it with a small amount of meter. On top of that, you can actually recharge it, and taunting your opponent doesn't decrease your meter, but instead decreases just theirs. So let's say you're facing someone like Jack here, who apparently lifted Andy Bogart's cheap aerial kick. Toss a few taunts out, and he won't be able to do them. This will allow you to beat him much more easily. In theory. Thoroughly disappointed in myself for not making it further, and I couldn't beat him. I tried, and tried some more until I just got mad and gave up. But hey, let's say it's the next week, you know? You didn't do so well with Rio, and you got 10 more quarters, so you're gonna pick Robert instead, right? So let's drop some quarters in that and try again. I'm actually way better with Robert. Heck, I even beat Toto without losing a single quarter, so we're off to a good start. But of course this fat mother ruins everything great! Forget building a wall around Mexico. Let's hire Trump to build a wall around Jack. It would take about as long. Okay, I'm sorry for the fat joke. That was a little low and... Not as low as a stupid sliding kick, you cheap son of a... Okay, so after a few face slaps from pure rage, I actually did manage to beat him. It took some learning since I found out he has very, very poor recovery. So if you just block his attacks, move forward to him, grab him, and that makes him a lot easier. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but heck, it worked for me. Oh, and while Rio drives a motorcycle, Robert drives in this awesome sports car. Pimp Daddy. Okay, it's this point that I have to acknowledge glaring similarities to Street Fighter, and why I personally consider Art of Fighting to be the first true Street Fighter clone. Yes, the main story is very different, but overall the characters are similar. Here we have a martial artist who shoots blue laser beams teaming up with his long-haired rich training partner to take down a major crime syndicate. Art of Fighting creeps really close to an act of plagiarism, and I say that right down to the character Rio, whose name is one letter away from being the character he's based on. Although in his defense, Ryo's name is really fun to say. Ryo Sakazaki. Sakazaki. Suck it to me. And yeah, we're all aware that Dan Hibiki in the Street Fighter games is a parody of Ryo Sakazaki and Robert Garcia, primarily because the characters are so similar that Capcom felt taking a couple jabs was appropriate. It's kind of like they were saying Art of Fighting was a cheap Street Fighter knockoff, to which my only response would be, if that's the case, then how come Art of Fighting plays faster than Street Fighter? Everyone back in the day always praised Street Fighter 2 for being fast as lightning, and everyone wanted it to be even faster with every update. But let's take a look at the original Street Fighter 2 and Art of Fighting in terms of speed. You see, not only is Art of Fighting more acrobatic and, in my personal opinion, more fun to watch, its insane difficulty makes every fight more tense than the last, and you get this immense feeling of satisfaction every time you beat an opponent. Oh yeah, so back to the game, I guess. After you beat Jack, you get this little mini-game, and I mess up because I hit A because I panicked. Whoops. So the third guy is this masked chameleon-looking dude named Lee, and this guy is actually kind of annoying. He's always doing this spinning claw attack that I think got recycled for Choi in King of Fighters, and he's always moving around and kind of hard to hit. Plus he makes this obnoxious sound every time you hit him. Yeah, that got old pretty fast, especially after he beat me a couple of times. Other than that, this fight's actually kind of fun despite the annoying sound effects. It's highly amusing trying to out-acrobat this annoying little turd. The next fight is King, and I got completely throttled. I didn't stand a chance against her. She completely massacred me, and I just had to call it quits. I ran out of quarters, and my patience got completely thin. I did my best, but I simply don't have the patience to complete this game, as much as I would like to. I hope you can forgive me for not beating it, because I really did try. I just don't think it'd be worth all the salt and rage for me to continue on, especially since I have 2 more games in this series to cover. Also, there's this guy called RJ63 who has this clip on YouTube. It's of him playing as Ryo, and he gets to the fight against Mr. Karate. He does rather well at first, but, well, take a look. Yeah, no, nope, nope, none of that, not having it ever, not now, nor ever again, okay? So, I like a good challenge, but none of that, sir! You see, Mr. Karate is actually Ryo's dad, Takuma, in disguise, and he's working for this guy called Mr. Big.
I am Mr. Big.
You see, he kidnapped Yuri to strong-arm Takuma into working for him. And that's really about it, actually. Ryo and Robert swoop in, beat him up, rescue Yuri, and all's well that ends well. Well, until the sequel, of course. And if you thought this game was hard, well, it is, but it doesn't hold a candle to its sequel. There are 2 more games left, and if you thought this salt mine was deep already, well, I am about to hit the mother lode.
Well, Simbum, Baba the Boo, Baba the Jibba, the Bee, Baba the Boo.
This is gonna go on YouTube uncensored one day, isn't it? This is embarrassing.